The chair would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the CUSD201 Board of Education, January 21st, 2020, and roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton.
Here.
Mrs. Coyle.
Here.
Mr. Price.
Here.
Mr. Rudy. Mrs. Strohmeyer.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on the agenda is student recognition, always one of the best meetings we have. But I would like to say that after we do the student recognition, you are all invited to stay for the meeting if you'd like to. So we're going to first start with Manning Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Peterzak, principal at Manning Elementary. Thank you to the school board, Mr. Carey, teachers, parents, classmates, and community members for coming to recognize some of our outstanding students in District 201 this evening. It is my honor to announce students who have earned our first semester Manning Meteor Award. These decisions are not easy as we have so many students who bring a plethora of amazing qualities to Manning Elementary. The Manning Meteor Award has 6 criteria that focus around kindness and compassion before anything else. These qualities are being trustworthy, responsible, respectful, fair, caring, and of course, to be a good citizen. Students, before I call you to the stage to accept this award, I want to share how deeply proud I am of each of you. Keep working hard to be the best that you can be. We're going to start with our kindergarten class. When I call your name, please come to the stage to accept your award. For parents and family members, we will have an opportunity after each grade level to give an applause and to take pictures. So please hold your applause till the end of the grade. In Miss Perino's class, Elliot Wang. What is your name? Thank you. Elliot Wong. You can go right over. Thank you, Elliot. Layla Edwards. Peyton Jindra. Dylan Robertson. Nevaeh Williams. And Alan Hevia. All right, let's give them a round of applause. All right, you may take a seat. Thank you. From first grade, we have Nora Burbon, Devin Kiles, Julia Ott. Gianna Morano. Alexia Nezgoda. And Oscar Estrada. Congratulations, first grade. All right, you may take a seat. For second grade, we have Kayla Solner.
You might be your email password, like to get into email. Could be that. Did you try that one?
Zachary Dorner. Natalie Cedrus. And Titus Williams. Congratulations, second grade. You may take a seat. Third grade, we have Sydney Heller, Samantha Ho, Natalia Rivera Lopez, Evan Schwach, Derek Anders, and Jania Gills. Congratulations, third grade. You may take a seat. On to fourth grade. We have Xavier Roddy, Trevor Robertson, Rita Ahmed, Simon Smith, Luke Stern, and Morgan Osika. Congratulations, fourth grade. You may take a seat. And last but definitely not least, 5th grade, we have Jonathan Egan, Emma Glashen, Charles Deckety, Katie Victoria, Jazara Bosley, and Titus Burbaum. Congratulations, 5th grade. You may take a seat, and I'd like to invite my amazing counterpart, Mr. Tim Weiler from Miller Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Weiler from Miller Elementary School. Thank you for being here tonight. School board members, Mr. Carey, district staff, community, parents, and students. Thank you for inviting us here to the School Board Awards. It's an amazing night. 2 awards Miller will be showcasing tonight are our Miller Scholars and Citizens. And I'll first go into detail what those 2 awards mean to the staff at Miller. One nice thing is that classroom teachers reach out to all adults in the building to award the students that from each grade level, from TAs to secretaries to specialists to special teachers, PE teachers. So they make sure the students are following the Miller way in and out of the classroom. So it's really good to compile and showcase our students tonight. So being chosen for the Scholar Award at Miller is about the amount of growth a student has over the course of the semester, in school and with their effort. They help enhance classroom discussions by never shying away from conversations. They always share their ideas with their classmates and adults. Scholars have a tenacity in their work. They work really hard at the things that they do. They bring out a passion in the things that they accomplish in the classroom. They continue and try to understand that they're not going to give up and never shying away from tough decisions or tough work. Again, these students are role models for their peers. Students chosen for the Scholar Award are motivated to reach new limits every day at Miller. So that's one of the awards. The second award that we're going to announce tonight is Citizen Award. A good citizen is, they make it their priority to always do their best at school or why they're at Miller. These students have a positive attitude about school and model this attitude throughout the school year. They excel at following expectations. They respect the thoughts of others. They respect the feelings of others. They try to learn more each day, showing compassion, taking responsibility, and are always just a good friend to everyone in the building. So we're going to follow Mrs. Peterzak and the grade level expectation of applauding after each grade level, but we'll call up starting with kindergarten. Yes. Okay, perfect. Starting with kindergarten, Alexis Mendez, come on up for your Miller Citizen Award. We also have Alina Parada. Ava Crowley. Santiago Guerrero. Camila Mojica Perez. Patrick Soroka. Audrey Oyer, and Abigail Flemling. Those are our kindergarten Miller Citizen and Scholar Award winners. Come on up. Parents, this is a good time for a photo opportunity. Please join me in a round of applause for our kindergarten students. Awesome job, kindergartners. Go ahead and find your way back to your families. First grade, we have 3 classrooms from first grade, so there's a couple more students. Emma Marcunis, come on up. Kina Kuya. I'm glad you're feeling better. Madeline Thompson. Charlize Fiandaca. Courtney Myrtle. Lucas Hines. Christina Aguirre. Sankarsh Govada. Kevin Velasquez. Emma Hastings. Adeline Hartson. And Lilith Tolman. Please join me in congratulating our first grade students. All right. Thank you, first grade. You guys can have a seat back by your families. In second grade, Mateo Boix, Kiera Guerrero, Henry Jackson, and Amalia Ramirez Perez. From Ms. Tarnell's class, Gavin Crowley, Haley Sorn, Mildred Hubscher, and Eleanor Holly. Please join me in congratulating our second grade students. Say cheese. All right, second grade, you can find your way back to your families. Thank you so much. Third grade students, we have Stella Scales, James Welson, Rodolfo Leon Alvarez, Emmett Hawkins. Vishav Chani. Genoa Crowley. Cole Hubsher, and Abel Price. Please join us in congratulating our third grade students. Take a bow, third grade. You guys can head back to your families. Thank you. Fourth graders, we have Abigail Martinez, Amelia Meza, Crystal Rodriguez, Jacob Vasquez, Fedashi Johnny, Mia Orlando, Connor Brandani, and Ethan Kosak. Congratulations, fourth grade students. Awesome job. Thank you, and have a seat by your families. Our last group tonight is our fifth grade students. They wear a lot on their shoulders. They're the leaders of the building, and so we expect very great things from them, especially as they move to the junior high next year. But to start us off, we have Giselle Sanchez, Annabelle Christensen, Alexander Acevedo, George Wilson, Adam Freeman, Rowan Shirley, Grace Detenti, and Zayed Zaru. Please join me in congratulating our final group of the night. Excellent job, fifth grade. Go ahead and find your way back to your families. And then I also would like to introduce Mr. Jonak. He wanted me to introduce him like the Conor McGregor fight this weekend, but I'm just going to give him the respect of Mr. Jonak, Westmont Junior High principal.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. It's one of our honors, Ms. Quattrone and myself, the assistant principal, to lead over at Westmont Junior High School. This is a wonderful evening for us because we get to see the students that are coming through and eventually going to make it over to the junior high. It's nice to get a sneak peek. With that, we're going to get going. I'm going to call a few of our sixth graders up to the front, and then I'll tell you why you should clap for them, okay? We'll go that way. So, Huda Ahmed. Isabella Fernandez. Kyle Johnson. Caden Mioti. Amelie Sika. Jackson Strohmeyer. Dayanara Torres. And Luca Valencia. Okay, and these sixth graders that are in front of you right now, they made the sometimes difficult transition to go from fifth grade over to sixth grade. The sixth grade team wanted to acknowledge them as students of the month. These young men and women have shown leadership skills since the onset of the sixth grade. Despite the trials and tribulations that accompany adolescence at times, they continue to persevere. These students exhibit Panther Path attributes, including respect for their teachers and their peers. They also show responsibility to complete their work and be there for others. They demonstrate positive effort and attitudes in all of their content areas. We're very proud of our sixth grade Students of the Month. Congratulations. Do we have pictures? We good? All right, students, you may take seats. Thank you. All right, and seventh graders. Seventh graders, please come to the front when I call your name. Zoe Abington. Natalia Angelchek. Charlie Kozart. Jade Curtis. Andrea Dominguez. Gia Green. Janiyah Hood. Allie Judd. Rachel Murata. Nathaniel Allier. Peyton Pickens. Cooper Rathburn. Briggs Templeton. Ria Varghese. And our seventh grade students are in an interesting spot because they are no longer sixth graders. They are looked at to be more models for the seventh graders and the rest of the school. And so the seventh grade team wanted to recognize these students who are definitely Panther superstars. They excel academically, participate in clubs and athletics, and have been leaders and role models within their peers. These achievements present Panther values in the very best way possible. Congratulations. I didn't dismiss you, but I'm not going to make you come back out. So yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. Next, we're going to have the eighth graders come up. Margie Anders. Anna Moreno. Denali Belmonte. Maggie Donzal. Mia Mazzolini. Sarah McCormick. Billy McGee. I'm mixing you up, aren't I? Gianna Morales. Annika Engstrom. Mallory Gorduno. Anthony Hill. Abe Johnson. Joe Kone. Mark Mawson. Aaron Murphy. Charlotte Riema. Aaron Rohde. Vincent Ruiz. And Jakai Street. Do we have anybody else making their way to the stage? Okay, these 8th graders are representing the 8th grade team. And the 8th grade team wanted to recognize these students for going above and beyond by donating candy to deployed troops during the Operation Gratitude Halloween Candy Give Back program. They went out of their way to support more and more of our troops, which is bittersweet because when I was in Afghanistan, I ended up getting a cavity from the candy that was brought over. So thanks a lot. Congratulations. Yeah, we do have one more. You can have seats, yeah. Thank you. See, they're 8th graders. Good job. All right, I would like Natasha Shamarina Edge. Are you here? Natasha? So even though Natasha's not here, I am going to mention Natasha auditioned and was chosen to participate in the Illinois Music Education Association's Regional Honor Festival, and that includes junior high students from across all of Illinois. WJHS is in a highly competitive region comprised of Cook, DuPage, Will, and Grundy counties, and they regularly audition 750 students for honors and ensembles. Natasha's audition score was one of the highest in our region and earned her a spot in a group of featured singers at that festival. So congratulations to Natasha. And I know Amelie wasn't here, but Caleb Sika. Caleb, are you here? Okay, Caleb is going to be performing on his trombone. There's only 50 students across the entire state that is performing with Northwestern University at the North Shore Concert Band. He was one of those members one of those students in the entire state that was selected. So congratulations. And Isla Elsner and Dylan Belmonte. Are either of you here? Isla or Dylan? There must be something good on TV tonight. So these two students are recognized the Lions Club Peace Poster Contest. Isla came in first and Dylan came in second. So congratulations to them. And I've had the last 7 years, I've had the honor to work with the dedicated administrator over at the high school, and it is Dr. Kevin Weck. Dr. Weck, come on up here.
Thank you, Mr. Jonak. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Weck. I'm one of the assistant principals at Westmont High School, and I'm joined by my amazing administrative colleague and teammate, Ms. Vervink. Before I announce our individual award winners, I'd like to say a few words. First, thank you to our school board, district office, parents, and community members for all of your support. Two, I'd like to also thank our teachers and staff for all of your hard work and commitment in helping all of our students succeed. You inspire our students to dream big. To our students, thank you for giving your best effort and being passionate young people. We are proud of you and love coming to work every day because of you. Your hard work has led to some incredible results for Westmont High School. Westmont High School has been recognized by the state of Illinois as exemplary for the past 2 years. There are approximately 800 public high schools in the state of Illinois, and Westmont High School has been ranked in the top 10% of all of those schools, 2 years in a row. We are the only regular, non-selective high school in Illinois that is exemplary and has a third of our students who come from poverty. Our 5 essential survey data, which is anonymous feedback from students, parents, and staff, is the best in the state of Illinois. The results of this survey communicate that our students and staff feel respected, safe, and supported. This information is posted on the Illinois School Report Card for the whole world to see. Last year, we received recognition as a model PLC school. There are over 30,000 schools currently that are doing PLC work, and we were recognized as one of 33 schools to be designated as a model PLC last year. We were notified over winter break that Westmont High School is now a finalist for the Do 4 Award. A few of our team members are flying out to Phoenix, Arizona next week to find out if we won the award. It is considered one of the top awards in education, along with the largest cash prize of $25,000. So we will know that as of next week. These awards and accomplishments are only possible because of the work our students and staff do each and every day. And this is a true testament to who we are as a school, a district, and a community. And now I'd like to transition into recognizing and celebrating our individual award winners. So please come up to the stage when your name is called for your award. Our first group of students to be recognized are the Illinois State Scholars. Illinois State Scholars are the top 10% of the state. 15% of our senior class has been awarded an Illinois State Scholar Award this year. Anika Bupalam. Marshall Brown. Griffin Chapman. Nicholas Charlton. Trisha Cueto. Emily Sapluski. Curtis Green Saunders. Bridget Gigailo. Jaden Leiden. Marta Melinek. Amina Mustafa. Mark Deom. Rachel Paget. Amanda Rosland. Amanda, how'd the game go? Awesome, congratulations. Riley Sharkey. And Stephanie Walker. These are our Illinois State Scholars. Congratulations. Thank you. Our next group of students is from the music department. Our All-State Honors Chorus, Haley Grimm. Is Haley here? All-State Band, Carlos Lalonde. All-State Chorus, Anika Bupalam. Also All-State Chorus, Griffin Chapman. And our honorable mention from the ILMEA, Carlos Lalonde. Please join me in congratulating our music department award winners. Thank you. Our next group of students, Scholastic Bowl. So for our JV Scholastic Bowl All-Conference, Pranav Viswanath. JV Scholastic Bowl All-Conference also, Akshar Goyal. And our Varsity Scholastic Bowl All-Conference, Nate Robinson. Please join me in congratulating our Scholastic Bowl Award winners. Thank you. Now our cross-country Red Division Conference, we have Elizabeth Sisnell as the Red Division Conference Championship Award winner. Michaela Hickey, Conference Championship. Abigail Strohmeyer, Conference Championship. Lily Kasner, Conference Championship. Evelyn Coastal, Conference Championship. Isabella Greeny. Michaela Johnson, Conference Championship. Mackenzie Blaine, Conference Championship. Please join me in congratulating our conference championship team members. Thank you. Our all-conference award winners for cross-country, Elizabeth Cisno, come on up. Come back up. All conference, Michaela Hickey. And then also all conference, Abigail Strohmeyer. Please join me in congratulating our all-conference award winners. Oh, yeah. So then they're down here for their boys. Yeah, okay. And then our last group for boys cross-country, all-conference, Timothy Roslin. Curtis Green Saunders. Please join me in congratulating our all-conference boys cross-country team. Thank you, everyone. That concludes the high school awards.
Before we go on, did anybody get here late that is supposed to receive an award? Want to make sure we acknowledged everybody. Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to the meeting portion of the meeting. Okay, we're going to move on with our regular portion of the meeting. You are certainly all welcome to stay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the first closed session of the January 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the second closed session of the January 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, are there any public comments? Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, approval of board travel expenses. Number 2, approval of the January 2020 expenditure report. And 3, ratification of December 2019 regular payroll.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Strohmeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first item for discussion is statement of Westmont Junior High School. And if the board would like to come and sit down there, then we could listen and watch.
Got a fan club.
Sure, yeah. You can move her. Thank you very much for having us here tonight to give you a State of Westmont Junior High School. So this is a glimpse of where we are currently today. Many of you know that in 2019, we received the Schools to Watch designation, and this set us just aside from the other schools the middle schools and junior highs in the state of Illinois in regards to academic excellence and also the SEL piece and innovation. So in receiving the award, Ms. Quattrone and myself were fortunate to go to Washington, D.C., and besides receiving the award there, we also were able to present, but then go and advocate on behalf of middle schools across the United States with our congressman. So it was a great experience for us in regards to stepping up a little bit more in education. And so, like anything, our entire vision and mission is aligned to that of the school district. And we decided to continue with the same format to be efficient as we have in the past. And with that, we're going to look into the academics, innovation, the social emotional learning, updates to the different programs that we have in place, and then a quick video of the Panthers in action. So in regards to our academics, this is the forefront of why we're here. So this is a snapshot of the IAR, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, and it shows that currently in ELA we have 53% of our students meeting and exceeding. This is based off the 2019 spring data in regards to ELA. In regards to mathematics, we have 43% of our students meeting and exceeding. Those are going to be important as we talk about other things throughout the evening. When you look at our achievement data from 2012-13, that's when Amy and I started working together as a team, all the way down to currently last year, 2018-19. It shows that out of 1,380 middle schools or junior highs in the state of Illinois, we're ranked in the top 15% of all those schools. Now, we've been kind of living in that area for a while, and we're very much looking forward to breaking through that and getting into that top 10, and we're going to share a little bit of what that looks like. These numbers are based out of School Digger, and that's what we've used in the past. So one of the things that we look at when we're looking at school improvements and how do we continually improve is this chart right here. And this is located on the Illinois report card that anybody has access to. That triangle in the center is us. And what's nice about it is there's nobody really above us if you look vertically right above us. And so what that means is there's nobody that's in our low income demographic that is above us in regards to our ELA scores. Now, what we do, we don't just say, yay, that's great. What we do is we look at the outliers, and you can see that those are the dots those are schools that are the dots represented right underneath those arrows. Amy, myself, we're calling those different schools and asking them, the main question is, what are the top 3 things that you are doing to stand out amongst everyone else in regards to your academics, in regards to ELA specifically? So we have created professional learning networks. We meet with different principals and assistant principals, teachers. This February 28th, we're going to be going to on Institute Day, we're going to go to some professional development of one of those middle schools. And we're going to be able to bring our teachers to that. So it's not just enough that we're 15%. We want to continually get better because that means our students are getting better and they're achieving more. Additionally, as you can see here, this is our mathematics. You can see our triangle. Somebody that's directly above us is Marker School District, Westview Hills, and that's our neighbors right to the south of us. Knowing that Westview Hills, my nephews went there, so it's got to be at least 8 years now, Westview Hills has had a double block of math, so they have 90 minutes of mathematics, whereas we have 40 minutes. And this is part of why we're talking about adding more time in math when the elementary has approximately 80 to 90 minutes and the high school has 50 minutes of time in a day. That is one of the reasons that we're looking at a potential schedule change to do things differently in the future, to have more time and practice in mathematics. Additionally, we're not just looking at Westview Hills, but we're talking about those outliers as well, those that are standing above their peers. In regards to the Illinois Science Assessment, this is the 4th year that we've had the ISA, and this year we typically have lived around the 80th percentile. This last spring, 2019, we dipped to 70th percentile. So 70% of our students are meeting, or it's actually termed as proficient in the Illinois Science Assessment. The state average went down as well with that. And so we've gone to our science department. We're like, okay, let's take a look at this and dive a little deeper. What do we need to do? So we're changing up the scope and sequence slightly, and then we're working on our common assessments, making sure that those are aligned to the other assessments. Now, when you look at the last 4 years, our average over the 4 years on the Illinois Science Assessment is 78%. The state average is 58%. So we tend to be, not tend to be, we are 20% higher than the state average on average of those 4 years. But we're not exactly thrilled about that dip in last year's scores. And once again, if I hadn't said it before, it's the 8th grade only that takes the ISA in the middle school years. This is a comparison of schools that are in the area. As you can see, there's some schools that improved with the ISA, and there's some schools that ended up going down significantly. But this gives you a little bit of an idea. And you notice I put schools like Butler up there. I've got schools O'Neill, Lyle. We placed a whole bunch of different of the neighborhood, or I shouldn't say that, the local schools to us to give you a picture of what their Illinois Science Assessment looks like. And you have this in your board docs as well. So we have a new, for the past 7 years, Amy and I and Westmont Junior High School has been using NWEA MAP for our local data and our school improvement goals. This year, we are using iReady, and that's through Curriculum Associates. You may be familiar with that because our elementary schools were using iReady last year as well. We're finding it to be a very robust curriculum, although we're only piloting that at the 6th grade level for mathematics. Now, what we're looking for, when we were setting our goals, we're not very familiar with it yet, so we're growing into this diagnostic tool. But our ultimate goal is to have at least all students on grade level by the time they leave Westmont Junior High School. And then we are additionally, besides just saying that we want everybody at grade level, we're looking to see that the students are meeting and exceeding their own individual student growth goals. So as we continue during this learning year of what iReady, the diagnostic, is, you'll be seeing more about this tied to our school goals. So speaking of our percents of students, what you see here, I know it may look a little bit confusing, but I tried to make it easier. So in the fall, this shows you the percent of students that were at grade level. So in the fall, students came to us. In September, they took this diagnostic test. The 6th grade, 45% of our 6th graders were at grade level. 53% in 7th grade, 55% in 8th grade. So what you see in that next column to the right is that the winter diagnostic. And what we're hoping to see, what we're hoping to see is that you're going to see a higher number in the second column than that first column. And as you can see, we have that in all but 7th grade reading, and we're diving into that deeper with our 7th grade literacy teachers and our entire 7th grade currently. When you look at that next column, the third column, that is the fall, the students that were 1 grade level behind. And what we want to see in the winter column, so the 4th column over to the right, is we want to see that number be lower. So as you can see, 6th grade is right there. It's the same. The 7th grade literacy is higher, and 8th grade literacy is lower. And so once again, it's not just it's not just this data in itself, but it's also the conversations that are going to go behind it. What are we talking about? Why are we seeing this? What are the trends? Additionally, with reading, the students that came to us in 6th grade in the fall that were at 30% were at below 2 grade levels. And so once again, we want to see that last column, it moving down. So we see that with 6th grade, we don't see that with 7th grade, and then we see that with 8th grade again. And we're learning this tool more and more. So right now, what I can tell you is we appreciate this tool more than the MAP test that we've had in the past. We believe it's more user-friendly. Mathematics, you're going to see a little bit of a difference here. In sixth grade, 43%, and then it went higher. Seventh grade went higher, eighth grade went higher. And so it's really nice to see that second column in regards to our mathematics. Again, that fourth column needs to be lower, or should be lower, than the third, and we see that in every single one of those. And besides the seventh grade math, in the fifth and sixth columns, we're seeing that across the board. So math has been doing quite a bit of work over this last year.
We are continuing our good work for our teachers. We know it's imperative to see growth in academics for our students, that we actually have our teachers grow as well. So one of the ways that we do this is we offer online courses. I'm sure you've heard of them. Our instructional coaches across the district give these different courses for our teachers to take. They do get some incentives to take them, but you'll notice that several teachers across the district have taken these classes and have reported that they have grown in their instruction and the instructional strategies that they're using to support our students. Some of these teachers being these: Mr. Kuhn, Ms. Niemeyer, Ms. Walsh, and Ms. Woody, Mrs. Meyer, and Mrs. Crestel. These are all teachers who have taken advantage of different professional learning opportunities which have increased their teaching, especially in our intervention classes. And so they've made our 100 Club, which means that 100% of their students in their classes have achieved growth. So we're very proud of them. And then also ways that we support our students in this whole endeavor is through our STAR classes, which we've talked about in length before, but something I just want to highlight is that goal-setting student conferencing piece. That's very important for our students to set goals for themselves, to be held accountable for them, and then to see their growth in the end and to celebrate that growth.
Next is innovation. And so one of the things that you may have heard as the Board of Education is we have closed that bring your own device. The Chromebooks have more to offer than they ever have before. And what I'd like to say is it's so far, this is real wood, I believe. It's gone pretty well in regards to our students turning off their phones and putting them away. What we have seen is that there's an uptick of smart devices. I think our smart watches, quite a bit of our students ended up asking for that for holidays, I believe.
They are very innovative.
They are very innovative, our students. And we have totally not caught on to that, by the way. So while some of our students are in intervention classes, we have our E-period classes. Many of you are familiar with our E-period classes, so I'm not going to go over everything. The one thing I did want to note is the fourth one down, wood burning. We just don't burn wood. That's art, so I forgot to put the word art. Amy's like, you better clarify that. We don't just burn wood, John. But there's a lot of different E-periods that we have, and really some of those E-periods can be designed by our students. We just need to have an adult supervisor, a teacher that is going to supervise that. And our SIP days, we continue to use that time where we have students from 8:20 to 11:52 to be a little bit more innovative, give them experiences that they haven't necessarily gotten before. So we believe that that's a perfect opportunity. As some of you know, the People's Resource Center is an amazing resource for our community, and because we have the student service learning commitment, that's a great opportunity for them to come out, to talk about the work that they do, and for students to decide whether that is one of the places that they would like to serve. Additionally, this was our first year of doing vertical endeavors, and that's a rock climbing place. And I got to tell you, that was awesome. I got to go out there and see I didn't do it myself. I was too scared. But I got to see what some of our students were doing and a few of our very brave teachers. But as you can see here, it's everything from career days tied to financial literacy, tied to Feed My Starving Children, tied to athletics. And so this is a pretty cool opportunity to give students a chance that to give them an opportunity to be into something that they haven't necessarily been into before. So technology, we definitely appreciate Nadine Norris and her tech team. They continue to support us. Whenever I bring up a problem, they're like, what can we do to solve it? And I got to tell you, that's an awesome partner to have. So thank you very much to you and your team, Ms. Norris. When we look at some of the ways that we're meeting our students' needs, we're not using Mastery Manager anymore at our school, and this is like a data warehouse, and it has a lot of other things. So we're currently using Otis, and that is something that the elementary is utilizing as well. I think they're piloting it over at the high school, but I think they're going to go back to Mastery Manager. Not quite sure. In regards to, we had Study Island in the past, and we've gotten rid of that. And instead, we have an online individual student tool called iReady Individual Pathway. What that does is that takes the students' diagnostic scores or even their monthly growth monitoring scores, and it applies what they need. So it basically says you're deficient in this area of fractions and mathematics, so we're going to boost you up, and you're going to take this online lesson in mathematics, and it'll continue to work in those deficient areas or those areas of enrichment. And so this is just one of the things that we do that I wanted to highlight. No problem.
Doing the dance here. As you know, we at Westmont Junior High absolutely embrace the community, and so these are just some of the ways that we extend our learning beyond the classroom walls. We have a partnership with Hope for the Day, which is very important for us. They talk to our staff and they talk to our students about mental health awareness, and we have an energy fair, we have career day, financial literacy. All of these things really are very impactful for our students to be a part of and show them the importance of community, bringing the community into the school, but also pushing them out into the community as well.
Okay, and then tying into our social emotional, she's here, but she's got laryngitis, so she wanted me to do a video of her before she got the laryngitis. Oh, hey, that didn't work.
All right, CUSD Board of Education. I really like my job. I've been able to go to a lot of the schools this year, and I would do it for free, but I believe we negotiated in my contract some dog bones. So, come on, bring me some dog bones. Bring me some dog bones. Bring me some dog bones. See ya.
She's obviously focused on dog bones. So an Emmy update, she's obviously here right now, and as you can see that everything's in line with what the initial plan was with Emmy. One thing that we're lagging behind a little bit is that enhanced training. Emmy and I had a conversation about it. It was either I go back to school or she goes back to school, and I won that one. So over the summer, we're going to continue her training, but for right now, I get to continue my program.
SEL is social emotional learning is very important to us as well, and we have always incorporated lessons into our STAR classes where our social worker comes in there. But new to us, in September of 2019, John put together a conversation summit in conjunction with Hope for the Day, and it was at UIC. Students went there. Maybe you want to give
Sure.
a little bit of a plug for it.
So they presented a little bit about student service learning and losing yourself through service to others. And so we had a great team of students ranging from the high school to the junior high school, and they presented in front of a whole bunch of people about it, and then they were exposed to some wonderful other things tied to social emotional learning standards while we were there.
Of course, we're bringing back Snowflake this year, and we do use a program in our social emotional learning with the social worker. It's called Second Step. We are looking into maybe using a different program in the future, but this is working for us right now. Also new to us this year are our SEL small groups. They meet monthly with a teacher. They're like a little family, and so each teacher has about 10 students that they meet with throughout the course of the year. They do goal setting with them. They talk about social emotional things such as bullying, friendships, all of the things that they cover in STAR, but just in a deeper way, a more meaningful way, because they are doing it with their family that they eventually build trust with and come to and have that teacher as a great connection at the school. We also did a relationship mapping with our teachers, and that's something that we're going to continue, where we posted pictures of all of our students on the wall, and we're talking about the connections that we have with each of them, making sure that every single child in our school is known, and that we know different facts and things about each one of them, and that we check on them throughout the year. So that's ongoing for us too.
Speaking of connections, so I don't know if anybody noticed, but we only have 8% of our parents that have taken the 5 essentials, and so we're looking for around 51%. So I'm not shooting at the stars or anything like that, but we need at least 20% of our parents to fill out that 5 essentials data, the survey, so that we have some sort of data back. So I believe parents have told me in the past it's under 20 minutes, so I would appreciate, if you're watching at home, please make sure that if you haven't done so already, take that 5 essentials survey. With the results that we received last year, we continue to go strong in regards to more and most implementation. This is not normal. Seeing all of this dark blue is not normal, and so it is a pretty amazing place that we have at Westmont Junior High School, but it takes all of us together, all of the stakeholders. So in regards to some of our discipline data, Board of Education, if you've been reading my fascinating briefs to the board for the last 6 months, you know that we have definitely struggled in this area this year. This is something where we want to make sure, number one, that our students are safe. And that they're making these good choices that they can learn from, but that people are learning and growing, and that students are safe. And so with that being said, we are not going to show you different numbers, to show you lower numbers and referrals and all of that. We're not going to lie to you. These are our numbers right now, and that is why we're focusing on more SEL, because obviously our students need it right now. We need to be more proactive in that. And so we do go through bubbles. As you can see, there's been some positive trends in the past, but right now we got a little hiccup, and we're going to work past it together. Figuring it out, speaking of figuring it out together, that worked out well. I didn't even intend it to. Parents are really important in the entire thing. And so we work very closely with our PTO. We've had already one parent university, which is social media and your teen. We had a parent that works in technology, and then the student resource officer, Detective Glenn, and myself presented for families, and that was back, I believe, in November. Raising a Resilient Team, Hope for the Day, is going to come out and coach and work with our parents and work with our community in regards to what that looks like, resilience for teens. And then coming up soon, we've got Mrs. Leidy, or Senora Leidy, will be taking 4 of our Latina females and going with their moms to this Dare to Dream and get educated. This is supposed to be a very positive opportunity for those girls to be with their parent or their mom and go through this program. So speaking of programs, wanted to give you a quick update. As we mentioned before, Amy and I both, I'm not sure, I know you've heard me say it before, but Amy and I both lead these professional learning networks that are of the surrounding schools. Currently, there's somewhere between 25 to 30 principals in the local area, and some inside Cook, some in Kane, but mainly in the DuPage area. We're just going to be meeting later on this week, as a matter of fact. We learn, grow from each other. We roundtable about different concerns, and we get smarter working together. The assistant principal, PLN, does the same thing. And these networks that we have, they're very solid in that there are I don't know if you know this, but CUSD201 only has one junior high. So we need to go outside. We have great colleagues at the lower level, the elementary, at the high school, and early childhood as well. But we need to kind of meet with others that are having those similar issues that we're having. And so that's a great opportunity to do that. We're going to be presenting on our dual language plans in just a little bit with Ms. Moliere, so we're looking forward to that. And then our building leadership team is currently, we're on a 2-year rotation in which the beginning of it, we're building a foundation by reading from Brene Brown, Dare to Lead. This kind of gives a baseline and kind of helps us move forward from there. It's an excellent book. And then, as I stated before, because specifically of what we're looking at with the challenge of mathematics, we are looking at the opportunity for a new schedule. This does not mean we would be seeing that for 2020-21. More than likely, it would be 21-22. Unless a beautiful schedule falls from the sky and it works really well at junior high, I don't think that we're going to fast track through that process right now. And so we wanted to share a little bit of our Panthers in action. If you liked that, Ms. Ryman put that together, so really, she gets the kudos for that. At this point, we wanted to mention that we got to see some amazing things in the last song of pictures, and we would not be able to do that if it wasn't for the Board of Education, for the district office, for the support that we are given. And so we get to do the fun stuff. We get to see the smiles. We get to see the kind of the groans when it's that learning process. But we couldn't do it if you weren't doing what you were doing. So thank you for your service. And then we are open for questions.
John, when you are talking about this new schedule and that,
Yes.
now, let me reiterate, you said it's not going to be for next year, but like, how do you envision that? Like, I guess if you are focusing on trying to give more math,
Correct.
well, it's like a little, like pre-plan, something, so,
So the question was, what does our process look like in regards to our scheduling process? And how are we going to go about putting that all together and determining if there's value added in changing the schedule? Why change something if we're seeing some positive results? Why not just maybe tweak it? Or what is it going to look like, and why are we going to do it? Well, let me tell you, for starters, if we have a committee together, first of all, of educators. We put out a survey to our students. We put out a survey to our parents as well. We talked about this at our PTO meeting, and then we re-put out the survey because we believe some of our parents missed it. And so we're asking, what are the important things currently in the day? When your student comes home, what do they like about their day? What, do they want to see their teacher every day? Because there's some different schedules out there called block schedules, in which sometimes you'll have an A day or a B day. And in certain classes you might not see every day. That's not necessarily what we're doing. Some of our, right now we have some pockets of time that we could change up a little bit. And so what we're doing is we're determining what are the important things, not in all schools across the United States, but specifically in Westmont. What are we about? Because it's not just if we have to get rid of our fine arts program because we want more time in math, then we're not going to be doing that, right? Because fine arts, did you see those kids up here today? That's what we're about as well. So we need to determine with all of the stakeholders what this could potentially look like. And that's why, we started having this conversation in October amongst the faculty. Because the math people were realizing that, hey, we need to do something about this. And there are other options out there for instead of changing the entire schedule. Some things that are pretty exciting, as a matter of fact. But we are not going to sacrifice some of what I would consider to be priorities of the district in order to meet more time in math.
yeah,
I can always just restate it if you want.
So anyway, I would be curious when you get to that point when you're looking to roll it out. I hope you're going to come back to.
Oh, you better believe it. Yeah. And so the question or the statement was the hope that we would, Ms. Quattrone and myself, come and show the Board of Education before the final recommendation what that would look like. And so we would definitely be bringing Mr. Carey, the district leadership, and the Board of Education on that path with us.
And your presentation obviously shows that there's a lot going on in your mind, and especially the social emotional learning and all of the requisites, the COPs. But I find it very interesting to see what you guys come up with to find more time to look into something like more time in it. So.
Right, and what I can tell you is we're going to adhere to all the contracts, so. Yes. Any other questions for us?
So thank you for that wonderful presentation. It's really exciting to see what's going on in junior high. I love all the innovation that you guys bring and the growth and that flowing financial report as well. So just because I'm new and iWriting is new for us as parents and as the board, when we're looking at the at grade level in particular. So is the goal to be at a certain percentage that's typical, that's allowed, or reasonable, or does that not meet? Is there a similar percentage of what's reasonable or not at grade level as far as that grade goes?
Sure. So the question was, I mean, basically looking at the different data in regards to IAR compared to iReady. And so iReady does a really nice job in regards to telling you that a student, and this, I'm sorry, this IAR, and I don't have it in the graph that I'm explaining right now, but I'm just going to, we'll keep it on math right now. This is not the graph that we look at. This is not the teacher-friendly graph. I was just trying to put everything into one place. But the information, when we're looking at a class or an individual, it will show the domain. So if it's algebraic thinking, it will show the domain and it will show where the student is at. If they are a 6th grader, are they at this point in the year, mid 6th grade level, and that would be on grade level, or are they beginning 5th grade level? And so the whole idea is to move them from wherever they're at, to grade level. Now, with that being said, we had a student move in this year that is at the 2nd grade level, came from another country. So the reality, we had another student that started this year, specifically ELA, at the 5th grade level. That student has been in intervention, and because of hard work on that student and the teachers and the parents, that student has at the 8th grade level for reading at this point. And now he's working on his math because that's a little bit below. So the data looks different. What we tend to get from iReady, it gives it to the teachers and administrators in a really friendly way. But if you look at, hitting the wrong buttons here. If you look at the idea is, obviously, as educators, we would like to have all of our students at grade level, right? That is what you would like from us. I know Mr. Carey wants all of our students to be, Mr. Carey in the state of Illinois, by the way, want all of our students to be at grade level when it comes to reading and in regards to mathematics to build that foundation. And so that is what we strive for. But that second part, additionally, we're creating student growth goals as well, because for that young man who's starting in 2nd grade to be at grade level by the end of the school year, can it happen? Well, I'm sure things can happen. But is it as realistic as that young man that I talked about that went from 5th to 8th? And even that is pretty incredible. So what we're trying to do is, as we're learning more and more about iReady and how we use it and how we use the entire package of iReady, you're going to be seeing this data presented to you in different ways. But did I answer your question in regards to, so it's two different things. We want everybody at grade level, but there's two reports that come back. It shows what the typical growth for a student would be based on their score in the fall, right? And then it shows what their stretch growth would be. And so what we shoot for when someone is specifically already at grade level is for them to make that typical growth, right? But when we have someone that's already behind, whether that's due to a disability or a language piece or anything else, if they're starting so much lower, we're really looking, if they can hit that stretch goal, that's what we're really striving for. You're welcome. Yes?
One of the things we've talked about at past meetings and tonight is an example when we had everyone here for awards night, is finding ways to celebrate a larger swath of our student population. Yes. And one of the things that always comes to my mind is we talk so much about growth, and we should really be celebrating individual students wherever they are, right, whether they're 2 grade levels below or whatever, but when they show tremendous growth, acknowledging that and celebrating that, I think is a great motivator. And so I hope in some of the discussions that are going on now that is one of the pieces we take a real close look at to make sure that we are appropriately acknowledging hard work and not just our top 10%, but students that are well on their way there.
We full-heartedly agree with that, and so we haven't done it in a formal way, but the students that have made growth in iReady or previously MAP, some of the teachers will bring them down to the office for us to personally congratulate them, so we make a big deal out of it, embarrass them, and, but they do feel really proud of themselves. And it isn't formal, but that informal piece, it carries with them, because then we see them again in the hallways days later, and we continue that celebration.
And part of what Emmy, that's the first time I've done that, huh?
Must be the curly hair.
Wow. But the piece that Amy was talking about before, the SEL groups, which are different than what we've done in the past. So we've got 10 students. Those students are meeting with that one teacher, and they're going over their growth wherever they're at in regards to iReady as well. So we're trying to, Amy and I might not be able to see every single kid, every single kiddo, and talk to them about where they're at and how they've grown and what they could do or what they can continue to do. But we're trying to make sure that, kind of like the relationship mapping piece, that there's at least one or two adults that are connecting with every single student in the class.
And celebrating with them.
Yes?
So, looking at the iReady information and just thinking about that as we have it across, our elementary schools and the junior high, how in the junior high do we support kids who struggle with taking assessments? So it might not be necessarily a reflection of their true academic level, but they struggle with taking assessments. And how do we make sure they don't get sort of looped in the wrong level really for where they are just based on the fact that they struggle with testing?
I think that's something that we strive for, because there's no easy answer to that. For some students, there's paperwork to support what they can do, whether it's breaks or a test being read to them or something along those lines. But in regards to a student that is a student like me, who I wish I had a little bit of help on the GRE when I took that. We can just say, take your time, do the very best that you can, and obviously these are high stakes tests, right? But at the end of the day, it is junior high school, and right now there's the SEL component. We talk about academics, innovation, and SEL. And you notice that all three of those, even though we started with academics, all three of those are equally weighted in regards to our level. And so we try to make sure that we're hitting all of those. So there's no easy answer to that. It is something that we continue to do your very best, and hopefully that'll come across. It's not always going to come across.
I can give you a specific example of something that we do. So going back to that connection piece, I'm so short. This is really, going back to the connection piece, we use our iReady data as a snapshot, right? We really are looking at that trend data over time. So if a child has one bad test score, we're not putting them in intervention because of that. So we look at all different classroom assessments, a common writing assessment that we have all of our students do. We look at the iReady scores, the science test, everything as a whole, and then we make those decisions for intervention, or maybe somebody does just need a break and they don't have an IEP, but they have anxiety when they take a test. That's when we really rely on our teachers and those small SEL groups to get to know our students so they can make those recommendations for them. So again, it goes back to the connections, which is why I love our school so much, because we have that ability to be able to form connections with every single student.
Yes? Oh.
Any other board members have questions? There'll be time for public comment after the meeting. Okay, no problem, no problem. Okay, any other questions from the board?
Sorry, one more question. For just a clarification, because I don't know what it means, for the referrals in relationship to student discipline. So what is that exactly? Yes, the number of referrals.
So the number of referrals, those are going to be for breaking some school rules. So that could be anything from cheating on a test. We are going to, from those referrals, we're taking out any kind of detention for a tardy or something, but that might be a classroom disruption. That may be dangerous behavior, meaning taking a chair out from under another student. That's what dangerous behavior, go ahead.
So it's referrals is almost like discipline incidents in a sense.
Correct.
And then the next graph, it talks about in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, and then fights as a separate entity.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, any other questions from the Board of Education?
Okay, John, are you done with that then?
We are done with this.
Okay, so the next item for discussion will be the junior high school dual language program recommendations. And what I think I'd like to do is ask the board, maybe we can stay here and watch this, and then maybe to make this easier, especially since we are videotaping this, then after you do your presentation, if the board can come back up so people can hear the questions and such. And okay, so let's do that.
Okay. Ms. Moliere? Ms. Coyle, are you confident that you can take care of Emmy? All right, fantastic. So thank you again, Board of Education. We have gotten a great opportunity to work together. Amy and I have known each other for many, many years, even before Westmont Junior High School, but we have a kindred spirit in Ms. Moliere. We've really enjoyed working with her to work on what our current programming is at Westmont Junior High School and then recommendations for the future.
And I just want to say thank you so much to all the board members and the parents for being here today, and it's really a privilege and an honor to be in front of you. I just want to start by saying that when I came to this district as an administrator, I was extremely impressed by how much work has been put into the dual language program. I was also very impressed that sixth grade had already been put into place. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of envision for our district is how can we get stronger and better? Because research shows that being bilingual brings so many advantages. As you can see on the screen, you can read some of the advantages of being bilingual. You can tune out noise easier, be a better problem solver, have superior listening skills, be a master multitasker, and even in some careers, earn more money. And all of these advantages help our students excel in school, but not only in school, but outside of school. So this is just a great reminder of the power of being bilingual. I want to show you a map of the United States. The Seal of Biliteracy is an award given to students at the high school level who receive it through a demonstration of bilingualism in any language represented in the world. So in 2015, these are the states that have approved a seal of biliteracy for their high school graduates. You can differentiate the colors. That lighter blue is under construction and that beige is early stages, and then the white represents that no seal of biliteracy was in place. And now if we go to the year 2020, you can see how much in our nation has embraced the power of bilingualism. Now only 2 states, Montana and South Dakota, are the ones that have not yet embraced the seal of biliteracy, but across the board, school districts, families, and even students themselves are embracing the power of being bilingual, and having the seal of biliteracy gives you an opportunity to get college credit and do many other college credits with the seal of biliteracy.
And so when we look at the current model that we have in place at Westmont Junior High School, a little bit of past here, a little bit of history. The model that we currently have is not what we had started with in the preparation for this school year. Originally, we believed that we were going to go with a blocked, so this means 2 periods of Spanish language arts. When we saw the first cohort coming through to us, we looked at the cohort, we looked at what their needs would be, and one of the needs was strengthening their English language arts. And so we decided to go with a different model, and that is the co-teaching model in regards to science and social studies, so dual language, co-taught model in science and social studies, in which there is a dual language teacher and the content area specialist that is in each of those classes. And then there is a star time, which for those that don't know, it's a flexible time that's built in, and that was with that dual language teacher that was for support. So that is the current model that we have in place. As anything, in the military, we used to call it AAR. We would see what was supposed to happen, what did happen, what was going well, and what needed to change. And so as we were going through this year, we were looking at those things, what was supposed to happen, what did happen, what do we want to keep, and what do we need to change? And so one of the things we realized is we really, in order to strengthen the dual language program, we needed to look at changing the model that we currently have in place. And so, and we got that data from our students, we received that data from parents, we received that data from the teachers, and then those were also, I've been very fortunate to have Ms. Millier be able to come with me and do observations in the dual language classes. So it was two administrators looking and being able to gain insight and provide feedback in that.
So, as a new administrator, excited about dual language being in the 6th grade level, the next question was, what's next? If you can see on the sign, it says Quien Sabe Road. If you speak Spanish, you might know that that means who knows, right? So we definitely do not want to be on the Quien Sabe Road. We want to be on the Sabemos Road. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was to, now that we're in 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade, let's have a plan. And we decided to investigate best practices for dual language.
And so when we talk about investigating the dual language programs out there, you may be familiar, especially if you have a student that's in dual language currently, that there are different types of programs. There's dual language for one-way, which is just native speakers going into dual language classes. Native speaking Spanish going into classes. There's two-way, the current model that we have at the elementary schools and the junior high currently. And then there's other for like heritage speakers, there's just Spanish as an elective. And so what we did, the three of us, we collaborated with multiple school districts, and this is across the United States. We went on site visits. Ms. Millier, Sandy, and myself went to a few different dual language schools in the northern suburbs of Chicagoland. Unfortunately, just Sandy got to go to New Mexico and visit schools there. Maybe next year I'll be able, Mr. Carey, to do that. And then we also were researching curricular materials. And so when you look at what we currently have in place, we have this newer program, and there's not as many materials. I used to be a social studies teacher, monolingual English social studies teacher, and there's a plethora of materials out there for that. In regards to a dual language research-based curricular materials, you don't have that much to choose from. And so that was one of the items that I have difficulty in looking at the textbooks and such, the publications in Spanish, believe it or not, but Ms. Millier was able to. And then Ms. Quattrone was able, because she's a reading specialist, I don't know if you know that, among many other things, she's also the pumpkin queen. Weren't you a pumpkin queen? Sorry. But we looked at different vendors that have research-based programs that other people were recommending throughout the United States. And so that was something that was important. Do you want to continue that?
And I was extremely excited to connect with coordinators, directors, administrators in New Mexico and in northern suburbs, and just listening to them and how they're implementing their middle school programs, and kind of feeling, okay, there is materials, curriculum that are research-based. Like Mr. Jonak said, they're very hard to find in Espanol. So it was a treasure when we were able to get recommendation not only from directors and coordinators and principals, but from teachers themselves across the United States saying, yes, we vouch for this as a dual language teacher.
And I think that was what was pretty neat, because while Sandy was in New Mexico, she was able to connect with different teachers, and they were willing to do, I used to call it Skype, they were willing to do Google Hangout with us to have conversations and to field all of our questions. So that shows a dedication on his part, not just to his students, but also to all students. And so making those ties, that network was fantastic. Do you want to continue? Or? So additionally, we looked at the foundational structures of what a dual language program is and what it isn't when we were looking through all of this. We analyzed what our current students in 6th grade, but then also what our students next year are going to be looking like. So we kept that analysis in. We synthesized all of these different recommendations. And then we also looked at specifically Westmont Junior High School, CUSD201, what we've currently been doing in the program, and that is where we came up with the different options, or the two options that we're going to show to you. Now, with that being said, you heard me just 10 minutes ago, Ms. Quattrone and myself, talk about how we may be looking at a different schedule. All of the recommendations that we're giving here are such that are tied to what our current schedule is in place, because that's what we know. We believe that whatever we do in the future, we can definitely tailor that to make sure that the program still has the integrity that it needs. And so we're going to share with you the two different recommendations. Does anybody else want to? Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. So our first recommendation is the 6th grade level. So we are going to look to change what we are currently doing at the 6th grade level. We would have a dual language, so we would be using the SLA benchmark Adelante. And that is what the current curriculum that they are using at Miller School, that is what we are going to recommend for 6th grade in both of our options. And so what that does is that continues, as we know, the 5th graders going to 6th grade, there's already a transition socially, emotionally, and all that other fun stuff. This is going to help with that transition because they are already used to this curriculum through their dual language program that they've been doing K through 5th grade. And so, so that would mean social studies and SLA, that would be dual language. And then they would, so they would have dual language literacy, dual language social studies, because basically in Benchmark Adelante, there are aspects of Spanish language arts and then also social studies. It's embedded together. There's actually a little bit of science that's intertwined with that as well. But that is what we're looking for. And then there would be to keep up on the English language arts, which we notice is still in the beginning stages, a little bit of a deficit of our dual language students. Instead of having a block, which means 80 minutes of English language arts, we would have one period of ELA. So that's what's going to kind of help bridge some of those deficiencies and strengthen our students, not just in Spanish, but in English as well. And so altogether, what that would mean is that class, the Benchmark Adelante, they would no longer have the monolingual English social studies class because they're getting social studies through Benchmark Adelante, okay? And so that is what 6th grade would look like. 7th grade and 8th grade are going to look the same, not the same as 6th grade. Somebody may ask, why don't we have SLA Benchmark Adelante? Why didn't we recommend that for 7th and 8th grade? Benchmark Adelante does not have 7th and 8th grade levels. Otherwise, we would be making that recommendation. So it's not there, so we had to go outside. What we're going to recommend to you instead is to have use the National Geographic Social Studies dual language class. And so what that is instead of having monolingual English social studies, they would have social studies in dual language in Spanish, and that would be through the National Geographic program. Let me see here. And so that would be one class of 40 minutes plus a dual language STAR class, and that would be there for support. So we wouldn't have a block anymore, but we would still have 2 periods that would be considered in that dual language. With this, we would, and I did not bring the copies of what the curriculum looks like, but what I will tell you, the textbook looks like. What I will tell you is I used to be a social studies teacher. It's near and dear to my heart. I do not believe in going out and purchasing books for social studies, for monolingual English social studies, because there's so much out there on the different websites that are free, that are safe. There's so much in there for English, monolingual English students in regards to social studies. But in regards to Spanish, speaking Spanish or dual language, I highly recommend, based on what I saw through National Geographic, this textbook. It's the best thing that I've ever seen in regards to social studies curriculum. But once again, I would not get this kind of support for my English-speaking monolingual students because they've already got it through all of the different supports that are in place, all the curriculum and all of the internet, the websites, and all of that. So 7th grade would have National Geographic. 8th grade would have National Geographic as well. And so that is what we're looking at for our first recommendation, option 1. I'm probably not, did I leave something out here?
Yeah, and I just want to add that the National Geographic was the curriculum that was most bragged about by teachers, dual language teachers, not only in New Mexico, but when I got an opportunity to talk to National Geographic reps, they connected us with different teachers that were raving. And like Mr. Jonak mentioned, the curriculum in Espanol is maravilloso, marvelous, because it truly focuses on Latin America. And not only, it gives them a whole glimpse of being what it is, what it means to be bicultural as well.
Now, from a social studies point of view, it's been about 13 years, but I still feel tied to social studies. What I want to let you know is 2 of the requirements in regards to graduating and going on, or I should say, being promoted and going on to the high school, is that they need to pass, our students need to pass the Illinois State Constitution test and also the United States Federal Constitution test. This National Geographic curriculum is aligned to the Common Core, and but it's Spanish language arts as well, and they'll be able to take the U.S. Constitution test, the Illinois Constitution test. It'll just be in Espanol. So just so you're aware, the curriculum is aligned.
And I'd like to add something too.
Okay.
From a reading specialist point of view, I particularly like this textbook because it's not just content-based, it's really, it delves into reading strategies, all of the tenets that we look for in Spanish language arts, but also English language arts. So the reading, writing, listening, and viewing, all of those strategies are built into the textbook, so the students have them at their fingertips.
Okay, we're going to go to the, so sample schedules. We'll just show you as I'm looking at the Board of Education. There's a few of you that may have interest in this. Some of you I knew had interest in this about 7 years ago, but maybe not so much today. But this is what a sample schedule could look like for a 6th grader and 7th grader and 8th grader in regards to these options. So highlighting option 1, so we would be adopting a new curriculum at each grade level. There would be a strand of dual language in every grade, and that is important because this means that under this recommendation, we would still be a dual language school because we have that strand in every grade level. The Spanish language arts curriculum would be purchased and not teacher created. Part of the difference between, one of the differences, besides the obvious ones, between Miller and Westmont Junior High School is that at Miller, there are 6 dual language teachers at the different grade levels. And so even though they're teaching different grade levels, they have each other to lean on. And here at Westmont Junior, not here, but at Westmont Junior High School, there's only going to be one dual language teacher. So in order to have a very solid curriculum in place, because that teacher is not going to have on a regular basis someone to lean on, is important. It was one of the factors that we had in the recommendation. And so the 8th grade curriculum, as a reminder, would not need to be purchased for another year. We'll show you the money end in just a moment. And then we talked about Common Core, Spanish language arts is aligned. This leads to biliteracy at the high school level. And so that seal of biliteracy. One thing I want to mention about that is that we talked about how we could celebrate our bilingual students here at Westmont Junior High. Once again, over there at Westmont Junior High School when they graduate 8th grade. And I believe everyone here has been to a graduation in which the high honors gets a gold cord, honors has a white cord, and so we would like to, if this is the way we go, our recommendation eventually to Mr. Carey and the Board of Education would be that our first cohort of dual language students will be able to pick a different cord to represent them on during the graduation ceremony as those students that have gone through the dual language program. And so like just about any program, in the beginning, it's going to cost more. And then as the years go on, it's going to be significantly reduced. And so this is option 2.
Our recommendation for option 2 is very similar to option 1 in terms of 6th grade. We're going to keep that the same. But then we thought about what are near districts doing for their dual language students, and they 7th and 8th grade, we hear a lot about heritage speakers classes and having them go into a heritage speaking part of their schedule. So our recommendation option 2 would be that in 7th and 8th grade, they would have heritage Spanish as an elective class, and I know Mr. Janek and Ms. Quashner are going to talk a little bit about this, but they would have that for 40 minutes, still have STAR support. The heritage Spanish exploratory class would follow the foreign language standards, and then the curriculum for this, it would be teacher created, and the same thing goes for 8th grade. And I know we can touch base about the elective class.
Sure, and so one of the main differences here is, number one, they're not, 7th and 8th grade is not dual language. So this is an elective. This is a version of a foreign language class, okay? And instead of, and because we have PE as one choice, our students have one elective choice or one exploratory, and this would take the place of that one exploratory. So one of the negatives to this is that students, if they're in band or choir or art, or wanted to take those different industrial arts, those different classes, they would not have that option. They would be taking this option instead. They would be able to, if they were able to, be in E periods and be exposed to some different things, but it wouldn't be at the same level as what an exploratory class would necessarily be. In regards to this, there's some framework that we believe is pretty solid, and that's where that $200 comes in. There would be extra work that would need to be done curriculum-wise. It's difficult for me to be able to project how much curriculum dollars per hour would be needed in order to do that, but we do know that the textbooks would range around $80 a piece, and that we would be going for a classroom set of 30, and that is what is projected out for all of the other classes as well. And so that's what brings me to the $2,400. And so we're looking at this for 7th grade and 8th grade, but as Ms. Moliere said, 6th grade we would maintain to be the same recommendation for both recommendation 1 and recommendation 2. So the features here, already stated that. We talked about that bullet point number 2. The curriculum will cost less, but it's only going to include the framework, and then we're going to need to add those other things, as I stated, with the curriculum writing piece. 7th and 8th grade wouldn't necessarily, it's not research-based, but once again, we're looking at something different in regards to not considering the dual language program, but having it be more tied to that foreign language piece. With this model, with this recommendation, dual language would stop at 6th grade, and we would no longer be a dual language school because we don't have a strand in 7th and 8th grade. And then in regards to our students, if they took that heritage Spanish in 7th and 8th grade, they would be able to take foreign language at the high school. We would need to determine what that looks like. And one thing that I will mention is the first recommendation is a pathway to that seal of biliteracy. I want to be fair in what I'm saying here. This option, option 2, could potentially be a pathway to biliteracy, because some of you remember 2-3 years ago, we had about 3 students that without any of these dual language classes at the high school level were able to take tests and earn that seal of biliteracy. So I want to be fair in stating that that is still a possibility with option 2. And so here you have the projected costs And this is based off what we know. And so you see that year one is going to be more expensive for the options, both options. Year two is going to be lower, but it's still costly. And that is because we don't know if the Board of Education would want us to purchase the 8th grade materials for next year or not. So if you wanted us to purchase it, you take year two, you apply that to year one, and we get all the materials that we need, or start the curriculum writing that we need to start. But really what you could pay attention to after that is year three, because that's pretty much telling you that option one and option two, there's about $1,000 a year difference. Now, what is that? That's the online textbooks, that's the additional materials. There's definitely possibility for some cost savings in that, because the number of students that we have in the first year of the dual language program, our current 6th graders, that's 11 students. Next year, we'll have 14 students. These costs are set for additional supplementary materials of a classroom set of 30. And so we would be able to work with the vendors, the publications on that. So what I tried to go was big on this, but if you've known me for any amount of time, you know that I'm going to try to get every dollar I can and save that. So wanted to share this with you.
So what we wanted to do is, after doing our research and presenting this to to each other, and then just analyzing what we came up with, we wanted to get feedback, because we believe that it's important to get stakeholder voices. And we decided to have a roundtable for dual language parents and families of current 5th graders and current 6th graders. We had a roundtable discussion on January 13th at the Westmont Junior High, and 12 people attended that roundtable, and they were presented both options, just as you are now. And at the conclusion of the presentation, we asked for feedback. We wanted to know what their thoughts were, what option recommendation would they prefer for their students. And 12 out of the 12 unanimously voted for option one, that they thought that was the best fit for our District 201 students. Here also, I want to mention that there was also dual language educators present at that meeting, and all of them as well recommended option one. Here are some other quotes that I just read the last one. It says, "I feel based on the work and effort both staff and students have put into the dual language program up to this point, it is best to continue the dual program through the junior high." The next group of stakeholders that we wanted to present this to was our BPAC, our Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. And we wanted them to also hear about these two proposals, as they are the ones that represent our dual English students and also our emerging bilinguals. That meeting happened on January 16 at Miller Elementary School. And again, they heard the same presentation you're hearing now with the two options. And there was 30 parents that took this, we asked for feedback, but took the Isaac slip. And again, 30 of the 30 stated that option one is the best fit for our District 201 students. You can read some of the quotes there. I'll read the third quote that says, "I've seen my children embrace Spanish. I don't want the program to end in 6th grade." They mentioned this based on the option two, where 6th grade would be the end of dual. Here are some more quotes from that night. You can read them. I'll read the fourth one. "Lleven esto a la línea de meta." Take this to the finish line.
By the way, I wrote that Spanish. I did.
He did. He
I
really
did.
did. And option one would increase student satisfaction, not only parent satisfaction. And I just want to add on to this, being a new administrator and really seeing how our students are embracing their bilingualism has truly been an inspiration to me. Actually, Mrs. Engstrom took some pictures of our dual language program at Miller, and she interviewed some students, and just hearing their voices really spoke to the amount of love that they have for their dual language program.
And so this is something that Amy created as we were doing our presentations, because it seemed like these are some of the questions that our parents were asking and our educators were asking. And so you can read over this, but I could read it to you. How about that? So will dual language students have classes with their monolingual peers? Yes. One thing that we strive for, it is not easy to do and we can't make promises, but we really try to break up that cohort throughout the rest of the day. Sometimes it's easier than others, but we try. Number 2, how will bridging occur in SLA classes? That will be in English. Number 3, will monolingual students have the access to the National Geographic curriculum? The answer to that is no. That is going to be in Spanish, the National Geographic curriculum. Number 4, can the 7th graders take the Constitution test in Spanish? Absolutely, yes. And we have both the U.S. Constitution and State Constitution in 7th grade now, in case you didn't know. Number 5, can students receive the seal of biliteracy upon graduating high school if they're not in the dual language program? Yes, they can. And how will WJHS recognize and support the dual language program school-wide? And we talked about the recommendation that we would have about the CORD if we decided to go down, we decided to go down that path. And so that brings us to our recommendation to Mr. Carey, to the Board of Education, based on the feedback that we received, based on the research that we did. Really, you've heard it all already. These are the reasons that we would recommend option 1. I believe that we need to definitely have a strong curriculum in place for our teacher, whoever is going to be, are in that dual language spot. We want to make sure that they are strong in that area and that they have a research-based curriculum in that area as well. What's the next one? Okay, so in regards to next steps, we've presented to you. We know that at some point you decide when you're going to take some sort of action in regards to that, whatever that looks like, whether you're telling us to go do something else or whatever that looks like, you're going to let us know. And then steps are going to be towards making that adoption and approving that and then getting that program up and running at the junior high school, ready for our students next year. And so now we're going to open up to the Board of Education for questions. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for the very thorough presentation. So I guess, so first of all, I will just answer the question that, yes, tonight, again, is for discussion, and based on where we end up with tonight's conversation, it will either be on the next agenda for voting or bring back more information or such as it is. So procedurally, that will be the case. I guess I have a couple questions. So we have made a commitment in our district to do the dual language. So I'm just going to kind of go out on a limb and say that in looking at all this, I know my feeling would be to go with option 1, to continue to be a dual language school. It's another one of those things that keeps us, as superintendent talks all the time about, being small giants, and it's another one of those pieces that we have in our district that makes us stand out. So I guess a couple of the questions that I had is, I also want to say, John, I very much appreciate how you had talked about when you take a program and you look at it and then you analyze it, what works, what doesn't work, and what can we do to strengthen that program. I appreciate when someone says that. So when you look at where we are now, do you have any recommendations as to what we can do to better the program? And I guess what you're saying too is option 1 would be that. Am I correct on that?
Correct. Under the students, the teachers, the parents, under what we're currently doing in 6th grade, they're all working hard, don't get me wrong. But I believe that we can do better by them. I believe we can do better to support the teacher and the teachers and the students in that case. And I believe that it would be more cohesive for our entire program and for the students in that program if we went with option 1 for, definitely bringing that benchmark on Lante at the 6th grade level.
And then I think I just have one other question. So could you just, for those that don't know, how long have we been we know the answer, but I wouldn't, how long have we been doing this dual language program?
This is our 7th year.
Our 7th year, okay. So do we, I know in the past there was some question about whether the dual language students are at the same level as their peers. Do we see that the dual language students are achieving scholastically at the same level as their peers? Are we seeing that?
So we have, currently we have 11 students. We had a student move recently. We were sorry to see him go. And out of those 11 students, one of those students is new to us. He was, as I gave a different briefing, that student came to us from a different country and is kind of in a different scenario. In regards to the other students, that would mean approximately 10 students. I got to watch what I say because we're talking about a small subgroup. But each one of those students has their different challenges and has their different talents. And so in that small group, I believe that we are not necessarily at the point with our dual language kiddos right now that everybody is at grade level, at that average, but it is something that I know we're working really hard at. I believe that when I had worked with some previous dual language coordinators, and that I believe that it is by 8th grade, and that sometimes, over the last 7 years, that information may have changed a little bit. We believed it was going to be by 6th grade or 7th grade that we would see more of a balance out, but the new data is showing, based on some figures that I looked at today to prepare for this, go figure, is that 8th grade is when you're really going to see that it's equaling out.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is I know that question has been posed in the past by parents, and I think it's good to recognize that is something that you're looking at, but it is something that is normal part of this program. Am I correct on that? That's a normal development as you go along with a dual language program?
Yes, and I just want to say that based on the research perspective of it, it takes about 6 to 8 years to attain a second language. For some students, 9 to 10. But I've looked at different studies. RAND studies show that, that the English learners are picking up English more quickly in a dual language classroom. And also, there's Stanford University came up with another study stating that dual language students perform on par with advanced placement high school students in language assessments. So that is one of my goals as a dual language coordinator, to truly get our district that data and to truly show parents, families, teachers that this is going to work. And I also want to state that our current Miller staff are working on biliteracy trajectory all the way to 12 on how to measure the reading levels in English and in Spanish, and where they should be in one language, where should they be in the other. And we're working actually tomorrow during our PLC time. That's what we're going to be spending time in, is making a trajectory for biliteracy for our district using reading levels.
And just one last thing. So when we're talking about these students, we're talking about, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the English-speaking students and the Spanish-speaking students. We're talking about this entire group that we're not just talking about one or the other. When we talk about this dual language program, we're talking about both students that are English-speaking and Spanish-speaking.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so we have students that entered the program monolingual in English, and that was their native language. And then we had a fair amount of students that were native in Spanish.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But once again, this is that's one of the things that sets us apart from a lot of other districts. We are two-way dual language program currently in Miller Elementary and at the 6th grade right now, and so it doesn't matter what they're coming into the door with, right?
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm really just going to piggyback a little bit more on what Marie was saying. We've never actually seen the stats. It's nice to say that the students will be back on par by 8th grade, but how far off par are they? I mean, I don't know that. It's just one question, but I'd like to see some answer to. Additionally, How many students are we talking about? How many are in the 5th grade dual language program right now? Do we know that number? How many are in the 6th grade dual
So
language
currently,
program?
we have 11 in our 6th grade program. We have 14 in the 5th grade program. After that, the numbers start going 23, I believe, 23. And and to give you an idea, our current classes tend to be right around 95 to 100 students per grade level at Westmont Junior High School, and that's taking out the deaf and hard of hearing program in regards to those numbers right now that I'm giving you, and so we're really looking at approximately 25 within the next few years, 25% of our students in Westmont Junior High School are going to be part of this program, if we decide to move forward in that direction.
Okay, and as I look at the schedule here, this is a separate topic, but same. You're showing in the 6th grade, for the DL student, they'll have the one exploratory period, and the 6th grade for the general ed, the same exploratory. So that's our fine arts programs, right? That's the band, that's the choir. Is that correct or no?
Correct. You're talking about option 2?
I'm just looking at the sample schedule here.
Oh, got it. Yes. So fine arts is exploratories, and then there's PE.
So again, it's equal for both, whether you're taking dual language or not, you can still only have the one exploratory.
Correct. That is correct.
I have a comment and then a question, so I just wanted to say thanks to all of you. I think that presentation was really well done, and it's not a surprise to anyone who knows me. I'm a super huge fan of the program. I think we've made a commitment as a district to do dual language, and I would love to see that continue. I think it's a huge benefit for our students in this district. I think Mr. Weiler and his team have done a great job at Miller so far, and what you guys have put together really looks awesome under option 1. I did want to just make sure I clarified under the cost numbers that you provided. You didn't mention any staff, so my assumption is that no incremental staff is needed at the junior high to make a dual language program for the junior high.
That is correct. We currently have the staff that we need in place as of right now to make that happen.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll go.
So I appreciate all of the hard work and research you guys have put into visiting other school districts and researching curriculum. It makes the flow go a lot easier in the implementation stage. And I really appreciate how you guys did a really good job of outreach to parents. That's 42 parents, I think I counted, were surveyed. And given how small the program is, that's a huge percentage of the parents that got a voice. So I appreciate that. I want to echo the concerns brought by Marie and Gary as far as I think I'm completely supportive of option 1. I think because this is our 7th year, we're overdue for an evaluation of our dual language. And I'd love to see as a board member at a board meeting how we're doing. I don't know a lot about this, and so I don't know if there's assessments that are looking, like you were talking about how you're meeting for PLCs tomorrow, the pathway to biliteracy, and are we on that pathway? And I guess the only concern I had about option 1 is it enough language exposure to Spanish to maintain that path of biliteracy? So, and part of that is that STAR period. Is that STAR period taught in English or taught in Spanish? So is it enough for our native English speakers? Is it enough exposure to Spanish? Was my only question about the 2 options.
That's a good question, because the STAR class that we have, it is a flexible time. Currently, it's being utilized by the teacher that we have in place to work with our students a little bit more in regards to bridging some of the English to Spanish, Spanish to English, and so it's being purposefully used for that support, and that is what our that is what we see happening in the future for that 7th and 8th grade level, not necessarily that 6th grade level, because they're getting 2 periods of it already. But that is what we look to see. In regards to is that enough? I'm not the specialist on that, so I don't feel qualified to tell you at this time.
I think that if we look at different models at the middle schools around us, this model, so it takes about 5 to 6 years to truly become fluent in another language. So by the time their kids are in middle school, their grasp, their foundation of either language should be strong, where for their Spanish learners, that the necessity minutes that they need would shorten because of the exposure that they've already had, because of the foundation that they have already built throughout their last couple of years in our district.
Thank you.
Okay.
So one of the things we talked about, I know at the elementary level, was the ratio of native Spanish students to English students. And does that hold true as the program grows through the years? Or do, say, Spanish students transfer out of the program, vice versa?
The trend that we're seeing now, specifically in kindergarten at Miller, is that there is a little bit more English speakers, but that's just, I don't know, we haven't had any exits of Spanish speakers. That just happens to be the way that our population or community at that age level has been. But that is something that we are considering to not only help our parents really understand the benefits of the dual language program, but for the majority of our parents and families that are Spanish speakers, they are selecting this. But in this case, specifically in kindergarten, the numbers are a little bit kind of skewed, but it's not because they're not choosing it, it's because of our enrollment for Spanish speakers.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one more. It's not a question for them, though. Well, maybe not, but Marie, you've mentioned it. Dana, you mentioned it. I mentioned it. So I'm going to ask, in the first presentation, you gave us the academic success of the general population of the school. Is there any way by the next board meeting we could see where that 6th grade class is compared to the rest of the 6th grade class?
You know, it's funny, Gary, I was going to actually ask that, because it seems like we've asked for that.
First of all, I want to make sure that the majority of the board would want it and want to see
Right.
that information. And then if so,
Right.
is there any way we could get some results like that so we can actually see?
Would you like that? Would you like the results in what you have right there
Well,
is IAR? Would you like that? We can give that to you in IAR. We can also give that to you in iReady, which is the diagnostic. That's what's the diagnostic is going to be this year, right now, what our kids are doing.
Yeah, I guess the question is, and tell me if I'm incorrect, we've been talking about this, are the kids in the same place as their peers? So can we get the information that shows us by grade where this group is compared to their peers?
Absolutely.
In whatever format is
We'll give it
best
to you. We'll give it to you on 2 assessments.
Explain to us who we don't know what we're
And really, we just
asking
want to see
for.
the 6th grade right now
Right.
because that's the most advanced class, right?
Well, maybe all of them?
I think it would be, my opinion, just based on, what the conversations I've had with Mr. Weiler. I have a student in this program. I feel like just looking at 6th grade might be a little too limiting. There are only 11 students in that class. It's the first class of dual language. That will give us a little bit of a lens, but maybe not the best total assessment. If we're really looking to assess how are the dual language students doing overall comparatively to their monolingual peers, I would say we need to look at a bigger sample, but I would also leave that to Kevin and his administration team to recommend to us. How do we evaluate that?
Right.
And I guess I would also say, I've been a huge proponent of looking at those numbers all along, and so I think we do need to do that. And I think we also need to look at them through the lens of knowing where we are with our dual language program.
And that was what, I had a couple notes here. So do we, it seems like some of us are asking the same question a couple different ways. So for the next board meeting, what we could do if we want to is we could put it on the agenda again as a discussion item. We could put it as an action item, knowing full well that we don't have to take action but we can put it on there. Like, we can't take action tonight because it's not on our agenda. So I guess so far what we're hearing is, can we take, as long as we are spending a lot of time looking at our dual language program, could we get the assessments that we're looking for? Like, where are we? So, like, yes, where's our 6th grade? But in terms of, as you say, you want to look throughout, so if we only had our 6th grade, that might be skewed. Can we get all of them just so we can see where the trend is going? Because I would guess that if we are learning each year, that maybe the trends are getting better. I don't know, am I,
Yeah,
okay.
they're definitely making sense. I think what you're asking for is a program evaluation. Where are we
Right.
now? And where's the trend data going?
Right. And then the other thing that, following up on something that Joel said is, as we're looking forward. So what we were, I guess, told before was that you have to have the same number of each students in the class. Can we get that breakdown when you're looking at each of the grades? Are we truly seeing that? Or are we changing the program in any way for whatever reason? Does that make sense?
And I think I would add to that, is it as necessary in the older grade levels as it is when students are first coming into a dual language program? As you learn, it may not be quite as impactful as it might be in the younger grade levels. So.
I think also one thing I would like to see, and I don't know if this is possible, and I don't want to create too much work, but is how are our native Spanish-speaking students doing? Are they thriving in dual language? Are we meeting their needs as well as our native English speakers?
And I think when you talk about our program evaluation, I think that is part of how you disaggregate the data.
Right.
It's our
Right.
monolingual English students and how their growth has been occurring over the time that we had the program, but then also our Spanish-speaking learners and how their growth has been, both in Spanish and in English. So I think that's something that we can work on as a team.
And I'm flexible. I think that's asking a lot. So if that's not ready before the next meeting, that is something that I would understand. I don't know if the rest of the board.
I think we can do it.
I think we could.
Yeah. The next meeting is February, 11th.
And
So,
Mr. Carey pays us overtime all the time, so.
Yeah, because I think, and that was a good question, and thank you, Kevin, because I guess that's kind of what I was thinking, like each group. And then in addition to that, like the numbers, so through the years, like, when we first started, that first kindergarten class who's now in 6th grade, how many did we have of the traditional English speaking and Spanish speaking? And then what kind of trends are we seeing? Like, are we seeing students leaving the program? Like, are we having Spanish-speaking children saying, oh, I don't need to be in dual language anymore? And I'm not putting words in it. I'm just like, I want to change tracks. First of all, can you change tracks? Or when do you, I know that you have to start in kindergarten, but can you change throughout? How does that work?
Well, you can, the attrition's been very low, I can tell you that, in terms of the program. And you can always have a, family request that their child be moved out of dual language, But that's been pretty rare.
Well, okay, good. I mean, that tells us something. I mean, you know what I mean? All these factors tell us something. So, like what Joel was saying, so now as we have each grade starting, like, are the numbers still where they should be to have a viable dual language program that benefit both students? Am I making sense on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to build on that conversation. There was a really interesting conversation at the BPAC meeting, which was this past week, and actually a gentleman who's here tonight asked a great question of the group, which is, it was clear from the parents in the room that the native English-speaking parents see a long-term benefit to the dual language program and feel like it's really enhancing their child's ability to learn overall, and I hope I'm not misparaphrasing anything here, but the question was really, is the same true for the native Spanish-speaking families? And the Spanish-speaking parents, one in particular, really passionately answered the question with a resounding yes. Our children need this. It is really important to them. It's helping them continue to grow in their native language, but also assimilate to the new English language. So I think that's not scientific data, but it is a interesting qualitative point that answered that question to some extent.
So it seems like some of these things are things that we've kind of been talking about as a board. So are we in agreement as a board that this information that we're looking for, could we have that for the next meeting? Is that doable?
We'll work on it, yeah.
Because then we could look at that information and, you know, as long as we're talking about our dual language program, we can, you know, and then if the board is comfortable with that, we can, for the next meeting, we can put it on the agenda as a discussion item and an action item if we feel that the discussion has led us to get to the point where we're ready to make a decision. Are we comfortable with that?
Sure.
Okay, well, then let's plan on that then for the next meeting. Okay, any other questions before we let John and Amy sit down for a minute? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, presentation of monthly financial statements.
For the month of December, the district received $375,000 from the state. There are $229,000 of fiscal year payments vouchered but not released at this time. We did receive one installment of the 2018 tax levy in the amount of $184,000. So total property taxes collected to date are $24 million, which represents a 99.69% collection rate. And over the last 2 years, the collection rate was 99.81 and 99.74 respectively. So we're just slightly under what we've collected the last 2 years. As far as revenues go in the Ed and Tort funds, they're slightly higher than the prior year averages. And we received $221,000 of fiscal year 20 payments. And there's $93,000 of fiscal year 20 payments vouchered but not released. In the O&M fund, revenues are slightly below the prior year averages. And in the transportation fund, they fluctuate year to year. They are higher than the prior year. We did receive $155,000 of payments from the state this month, so that was the first quarter categorical. And there's $135,000 of fiscal year 20 payments vouchered, which is for the second quarter. As far as expenditures, in the Ed and Tort funds, they're comparable to the prior year averages. And the O&M fund is 42.5% spent to date, and it was 43.24% spent to date at this time last year. And again, in the transportation fund, the averages of expenditures vary constantly because of the timing of receipt of invoices. And then the fund balance numbers are there for you as well. And then we have almost $18.6 million worth of investments. And again, you'll start to see that declining each month until we get our May taxes. Does anybody have questions?
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is the policy first reading.
Included in your board book are several policies that the policy committee reviewed at a policy committee meeting. And all the policies were recommended by press, publications, and policy committee. Doesn't see any reason not to present those to the board. This is the first reading, and then they'll be presented again at the February 11th board meeting for a second reading, and then possible adoption.
So I will admit that I didn't go through every single board policy. And I know we have a committee, so I thank the committee for their work on that. But is there any, I mean, again, I will admit that I didn't go through every single one. Is there anything in here that isn't just like dotting an I or crossing a T or something like that? You know what I mean? Is there anything in here that we should be looking at? I just hate to, not I trust the committee. I'm just saying, as an individual board member, is there anything that's, other than, the first things I saw were just like footnote
Yeah, there
things.
really was just maybe one or two that had more substantial changes, and, I don't know off the top of my head which
Okay.
ones they were, but in the listing there, there'll be one or two policies that had kind of substantial additions to it, but
Okay.
a lot of them were tightening up things, a few
Okay.
changes here and there, and nothing, in substance to the policies that really got.
So as someone who's not on the committee, could I ask for, and I don't know if anyone else wants it, if there is something that's like substantial words, could we get those like pulled out from the whole list? Just a footnote or something, like, if you don't have time to read everything, maybe you want to read these or something, you know what I mean? I hate to say that out loud, but I am saying it out loud.
No, it makes sense, Marie. I think that's
Is
fair.
am I making sense? Okay,
Yeah.
because again, I did start to look at it, and it seemed like some of it was just footnotes. And
So-
not for any reason other than that I know that I can understand it when we.
Yeah, Kevin will kind of list those out for us in the
Yeah.
same way when we have our meeting,
Yes.
which ones are which, and so just maybe list them the same way.
Yeah,
on the
okay.
agenda
Yeah, I
for
can
the next-
highlight the ones that
That would be
are
good.
more substantive.
That would be good going forward, because I'd like to be able to admit to the whole community that I know every single board policy that we have, but I don't.
Sure.
Okay, so I guess at this point, just does anybody have any other questions on the, so at the next board meeting, we'll have the second reading and adoption
Correct.
of them. So could we do that for the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then we'll move on to action items. The first item is approval of authorization for treasurer to pay additional January 2020 expenditures.
So moved?
Oh, wait, I didn't, I was just.
Moving along
That was
here.
the title, okay. So we all know that's just to give you
Yeah.
additional,
And although
permission.
although we had two board meetings, there were a week early each, and so again, it's
Okay.
difficult to, we don't have everything, all the bills in that we need to pay,
Okay.
so there are some
Okay.
we need to
Joel,
make sure we
hang
get
on.
out the door.
the chair will entertain a motion to authorize and direct the treasurer to pay bills received in January 2020 for the 2020 fiscal year. Joel?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, the second one, approval of resolution authorizing intervention in assessment appeals at the Property Tax Appeal Board. Do you want to talk about that just for a minute, Kim?
Yeah, this is just routine. Francis Gradalet handles our property tax assessment appeals. Hodges Louisi does all of our other legal business, so this is just the authorization telling them that the board has approved them to continue intervening on our behalf where necessary.
Okay, any questions? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing Frantic PC to intervene in assessment appeals at the Property Tax Appeal Board on behalf of the district as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of school maintenance project grant application.
The state of Illinois has a school maintenance project grant available to school districts, and it's a $50,000 dollar-for-dollar matching program. So we would have to spend, in order to receive $50,000, you'd have to spend $100. If your projects cost less than that, you get 50% of whatever you spend. So on our life safety survey, which the board approved in May, we have $125,000 of plumbing projects, and your projects can either be all at one school, and they can be all different types of projects, or they can be the same type of project at multiple schools. So when I looked at that, the plumbing projects were the highest dollar amount. They do hit all four of the schools. And so that was about $125,000 worth of projects. And so if we received the grant, $50,000 would be covered. The remaining $75,000 would be district expense. And that would come out, we have funds in our life safety fund to cover that, or O&M, so we could do that either way. So it's a great opportunity for us to hopefully be able to get some of those life safety projects that we have to do within 3 years done with some assistance from the state. So all we need is the board to approve us, submitting that application saying that, yes, you're aware of us applying for this and that we do have the matching funding for the project.
Kim, I have a question. First of all, thank you for going and applying for the grant. But we are, when you apply for it, you have to state the exact purpose of the funds.
We have to state what the projects are.
Okay.
And then, so like this, they're health, life, safety, so they have projects kind of in ranking order. That would be a higher priority need than some other projects.
The reason I'm asking that is because next week we're having a meeting of the Facilities Committee. Can we talk about that specifically as in terms of once the facility, well, we're meeting on the 31st, right? Did we agree to that, 31st? And then we have a meeting on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have that conversation and then bring that back to the board? Just because this, even though I'm on the board, I know that there's all kinds of priorities, and I suppose I would like the rest of the board to take a look at, if we're going to get matching funds of some sort, to see what would be truly our highest priority of the district.
Well, these are on our life safety survey, so they are high priority. Within 3 years, they have to be done. So, and there's no guarantee that we will receive the funding. So no matter what, we have to find funding for these projects.
Oh, I'm not arguing that point. I'm saying in terms of having it earmarked specifically for plumbing, not, I mean, because as I recall from our last meeting that we had a number of months ago, there were other things on that list too, right? That have to be done within 3 years?
In the projects that were approved, the other things were more like some fire and security pieces. Okay, we have to do those regardless as well. This grouping would maximize the dollars that we received from the grant. So if we did some of those others, we may not receive the whole $50,000.
So the plumbing is the only item that rises to the level under the life safety? Is that what?
No, we have to do all the other ones as well.
Right.
Okay, but, so we have to do them, and we're gonna, and when we did the approval in May, hold on, let me find that. Bear with me and I'll go to that May meeting a minute.
I mean, the decision to pick these particular projects is basically strategy for the grant application.
is,
And that's going to
correct.
give us more leverage, more possibility of getting the award, and we have to spend the money anyhow. So I don't
Right.
see this necessarily quite on par with the other discussion we were having, you know, about priorities and that.
Right, so when we approved the health life safety survey in May, the total project cost, along with the architect and engineering and contingency, was $277,920. And so out of that, we have, at that point in time, our health life safety fund had $141,825 in it, and the O&M fund, $136,000. And so we know we have to spend $277,920 within 3 years. So regardless of which projects we have to do, we have to do all of those projects that total that $277,000. So I was strategizing on the way to maximize that grant. And it's also more cost-effective if you do like projects together. So do all the plumbing projects at all the schools at the same time versus concentrating on one school at a time.
Yeah, and I understand that, and if I'm the only one that feels this, I'm just saying that this kind of, like, that was May of last year that we did that. Yeah, I guess I don't have that in front of me, so I was just, my question was, with the grant, do we have to specify right now? Because the only reason I know is because I just have these millions of dollars in my head of things that we have to do.
Yes, we have to specify. The grant is due February 14th. All those projects have to go into the grant application. The other thing is, in my report, we've received this grant twice in the last 10 years. We did a boiler at the high school. We used some funds for that, and then we also did the roof at South School. But in, I think it was 2013, and again, this doesn't come up that often, this grant, we didn't receive funding in round one during one of those grant cycles because of the nature of our project. So I was being strategic in health, life, safety are further up in the categories that they will fund first in terms of priorities. So trying again to make sure we get that money in round one and not have to wait till and reapply in round two or risk not receiving any funds.
Yeah, and I'm all for, looking for any grant money anywhere in any way and strategizing. The only information I have in front of me for this meeting is this. So that's why I'm asking this question, especially since we're having another meeting on January 31st. So if I'm the only one that feels this way, that's fine. I'm just kind of asking that it seems like without having any of the information that we talked about before right in front of me and not going back to where it was, I don't remember I just know there's a whole lot of projects, and
right, but
that's the question I'm asking in terms of.
The ones on the health, life, safety survey, again, are pretty much like fire alarm related or plumbing. Those were the two main categories of projects.
Yeah, again, I don't have any of that in front of me. That's why I'm asking the questions here, because it's in front of us for a motion tonight for an action item. So, again, does anyone,
All we're doing right now is giving Kim approval to apply for the grant. That's all.
But the question is, my original question
I
was, does
understand the
it have
information
to
you
be
want.
for plumbing? That's my question, and I think the answer is yes. So that,
Sounds like the answer is yes.
Am I?
Yeah,
Am
I think hearing your explanation, Kim, of the different other projects that could fall into this sounds like a good fit for this grant. I agree that we need to look at our overall priorities of our district, but I think for this particular grant, I would hate to miss out on the grant money by not approving it this meeting.
I agree 100%. That's why I'm asking all the questions. What are the deadlines? What are the parameters? And just to have that information in front of us as we're making these decisions. So, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? Nope. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve authorization for the submission of the State of Illinois fiscal year 20 round 1 school maintenance project grant application as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mrs. Stromeyer.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is approval of contract with Cashman Stadler Group for the Westmont High School chiller replacement.
And this is just a formality. At the December 10th board meeting, the Board of Education discussed the replacement of the chiller at the high school and authorized us to go out and bid. And so just with timing, this is just the approval of the contract with Steve Cashman, which is the same type of compensation that all other contracts with him have included.
Okay, maybe I'm just going to be a money person, but, so this amount here in front of us is just the fee for
Yeah.
Cashman?
Yeah,
And-
architect and engineering fees.
Okay, and that, can you remind us again, what was the chiller, what was the total, that's a big ticket item. Do you know offhand?
It's around 200, I think it was around, they estimate around 280,000. And we actually opened bids today, and they are in that ballpark.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, the chair will entertain a motion for the architectural services with Cashman Stellar Group for the Westmont High School chiller replacement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mrs. Stromeyer.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's report.
A couple items in my report. First, that CUSD201 will be having registration for incoming kindergarten students for the 2020-2021 school year. It'll take place both at J.T. Manning and C.E. Miller Elementary Schools beginning Tuesday, March 10th through Friday, March 13th, and then again on Monday, March 16th and Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. On all dates, it'll be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And just a reminder to our school community that 201 offers full-day kindergarten at both Manning and Miller, as well as a full-day bilingual kindergarten program that is housed at Miller, but it's open to all district kindergarten students. And if any of those dates or times don't work for a family, they can contact the school office and make arrangements to set up an appointment to register their kindergarten student. And just a reminder to parents that the state law requires that the child must be 5 years of age on or before September 1st, 2020. In order to be admitted to kindergarten, we must have a notarized copy of your child's birth certificate with the embossed seal. Hospital birth certificates are not acceptable. And then included in your board packet is a proclamation from the American School Counseling Association that is declaring February 3rd through February 7th as National School Counseling Week. And we just want to take a moment to thank our school counselors for all that they do for our students.
Okay. Is that it, Kim?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any board reports?
No. I have two really quick things. I apologize. One is today, my sixth grader got a letter from his fifth grade teachers, as did every student for sixth grade that was on honor roll that attended Manning. I have the letter right in front of me, and I almost cried when I read it. It was so touching of their fifth grade teachers to remember them, and it shows really the power of a unit school district, where when these kids leave elementary school, they're not gone, they're still here as a team. And I just wanted to thank Ms. Labita, Mr. Padilla, and Mrs. Walsh for writing a letter to all those students and hand signing them and delivering them. It was a very special, above and beyond thing that they did. The second very quick thing that I wanted to mention was that, just to publicly state that, we had asked last board meeting for the class sizes of those surrounding districts to bring at this meeting, and I had emailed Mr. Carey about that, and we're gonna bring that at the next meeting, and I wanted to just publicly say that. And in addition, I was curious if on the agenda we could place, we had started the conversation about our resources at the two elementary schools and taking a peek at that. I wanted to just put it as another discussion item at the next agenda. I didn't want that conversation to stop at our last meeting. If that's okay.
Okay, anyone else? All right, are there any public comments? Okay, then
No,
the...
wait, was there a public comment? Yep.
Oh. Okay. Actually, if you could come up to the microphone, because, yeah, thank you. And if you could state your name, please.
Hi. I'm Leah Conover, a parent of a first grader in dual language, and hopefully next year a kindergartner also. I just want to thank you guys for supporting the program. My first grader entered at first grade, and I just got his last report card, and he's doing awesome. It's phenomenal. And I can't wait for my younger boy to go too. So I want to thank you for supporting the program, and as a parent, be like the 43rd to say, go with option 1, if you could. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other?
Hello, my name is Patrizia Meza, and I am a parent of a third grader in the dual language program and a fourth grader in the dual language program. And I have a 3-year-old who is already picking out his desk in the kindergarten classroom at the dual language program. But I just wanted to say, I was one of those parents that was very unsure of the program when we started. My husband was very for it because he speaks Spanish. I wasn't, because I didn't speak Spanish until I got to 7th grade and continued and continued and continued, and got a degree and became a teacher and used it throughout my career. With that being said, my son entered in kindergarten. My daughter entered in 1st grade. She was below in Spanish. Come 4th grade now, I just had a conversation with the teacher 3 days ago as she called me to congratulate me that my daughter was getting an award tonight, and she told me, your daughter is on par in English, reading not at the 4th grade level in English, but at the 5th grade level. And in Spanish, she said, be proud, that gap has started to close. Your daughter has caught up in Spanish. So I just wanted to share a success story from the program and just show you how grateful we are to have this opportunity for our kids, and just show you what an amazing thing it is. When I tell people we have this program in Westmont, they are shocked and they are just bewildered that we even have this opportunity. So we want to thank you, my family especially, from the bottom of our hearts, because my kids, I got a phone call from church the other day that said, we have a family that just came from Mexico. This 4th grader could not speak any English. Your daughter stepped up and translated in class, and you explained to that child what she was supposed to do. And that, just as a parent, just felt amazing. So I hope you go with option 1, because we do love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay. Oh.
I'm Jill Hawkins. I have a son in the 3rd grade dual language program. I just want to thank the junior high team as well as Ms. Moyer for that presentation. I think it was well thought out. I've seen it twice, and I think it's a lot of information that is good for you and is good for us as parents to understand going forward. Obviously, I'm a proponent of one of the 42 that said option 1 all the way. I feel like we've taken our kids this far, and we should take them all the way. To have that dual language element as a status for that junior high, I think is important. To not say to our kids, okay, we've taken you this far, but, you know, good luck. So I think that the kids and the staff have worked very hard to get to this level. It hasn't been easy, especially as an English family, to push that Spanish element through, and it's a lot easier to just read it in English or count in English. So I just say, like, very highly recommend going forward with option 1. And I thank you for your time and efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other public comments? All right. Then future meetings and events. Then there is a Student Recognition Committee meeting January 22nd. 2020, at 6 o'clock at South School Conference Room. And then the CUSD201 Joint Committee Strategic Planning Meeting is February 10th, 2020, 6:30 at Westmont High School Commons here. And then the next school board meeting is February 11th, 2020 at 6 o'clock, and that will be back at Westmont Village Hall. The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session to discuss personnel issues, collective bargaining, and student discipline.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
And there will not be a vote after closed.